Hello, 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 everybody. Let me just make sure I'm good right here. Check my audio. Give me 1 second, everybody. Check, check. All right. Sounds like I'm good right here. Cool, cool. Yep. Audio sounds good. All right. Oop, my bad. Fix that. Fix my camera a bit. All right. Actually. All right, cool. Bam. Perfect. All right, all right. I am super, super excited for this episode today. I think this one here, this episode, as I was writing it, as I was going over some of the key information, okay, this is easily like super masterclass on embroidery. And it's specifically on text and really just on a side note. Okay, on a side note, I think this is just my personal opinion, right? Let me know if you agree with this opinion or not. Okay, but I think if you're running an embroidery business, whether you send your designs out to a digitizer, right? But I think if you run a embroidery business, at the very minimum, like it's a prerequisite to know text embroidery, like how to do simple names. Okay. Because I think when you learn text embroidery, when things are not lining up and stuff happens, right? Like not every project just stitches out perfect every time. When something doesn't come out right, if you understand like the basics of text embroidery, you can go back and fix flaws in embroidery. Okay. So I think mastering, okay, it's not only necessary to know, but we have to master text embroidery at a very minimum. And once you understand and master text embroidery, then it's easy. Okay, it's an easy transition to get into the designing, digitizing world of embroidery. So I have, let me see, I wrote down, I have my whiteboard right here. Okay, I have 8 key important, I would say, topics. Okay, 8 key topics, and as we're going, depending on the chat, okay, any ideas that you guys have that you want to throw out, okay, maybe we might add more key ideas and key lessons into this training today. Okay, so today it is master text embroidery, and of course I always say this, and i'm 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 not going to say that you ever fully master text embroidery. It's an ongoing educational process. Okay, it's stuff that I still do to this day. I'm testing limits, I'm testing different fonts, I'm testing on different garments. All right, so just because we might understand like the theory of text embroidery, all right, it's still the next level, which is the practice and the stitching out, seeing it stitch out, and seeing how just thread reacts to different garments. Okay, all right, cool, cool. Let me do a quick shout out to everybody. I know I haven't been live. Let me give you guys like a quick update on what's happening, all right? Because life, of course, is always crazy. There's always 10,000 things to do on the to do list. And we could probably only do 3 things a day on that to do list. But I have, so for most of you, right, that don't know, I'm in the US Navy. So right now, I'm on a ship. And right now, I pretty much live on a ship. Okay. So when I'm not out there, okay, today I got a break. Lucky I got a break. So of course, anytime I do have at least a 2-day break, I try to throw in a live in here. All right. So this is a lot of stuff that while I'm out, right, and nowhere land, I'm still writing like ideas and topics and theories and ways to explain embroidery. All right. So even though you might not see me on the lives, I'm in the background still designing and coming up with ideas how to present information. All right. But I have been out at sea and it feels good right now to be on land. Okay. After today, go back out. All right. So feels good always to come out, do some lives. All right. Jesse, how you doing? Cyclone, West Virginia. Doug, how you doing? Thorough Creatives from Germany. All right. We international. Karina. Roderick, Henry, Moreno Valley. All right. Cool. Jam-packed house today. And today's episode, this is an episode you're going to want to save. Okay. You're going to want to save it on your bookmarks. On YouTube, you're going to want to download it. Make sure you have it always available. And you want to listen to it over and over and over because trust me, it's going to be information overload. We might go 2 hours today. All right. I was thinking about breaking it up into 3 parts, but I'll rather just go all out. And then over time, right, after you watch it over and over and over and over, okay, everything starts making sense. All right. Janice, how you doing? Text is something I want to master. All right. That's the goal for today. The goal is to master text. All right. And then this is a good one, Karina. All right. This small logo tested 100%, but on the client's machine, it didn't work that good. All right. So that's what I'm telling you is it might work, right? Maybe your digitizer, it works on something that he's stitching it on, but then you do it and it's not looking good, right? And then we're always quick to blame something or someone, right? But if we understand the fundamentals of embroidery, we kind of pinpoint and see exactly where the problem's coming from. All right. All right, Mandy, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, Jan. Appreciate that, Jan. All right. Thank you. Bam. Okay, yep. Like this one. Quaid. I find digitizing letters are enjoyable and quicker for me. Yeah, once you get into the groove, right? Once you understand how everything is, you're starting to move way faster. And then small lettering, right? Like this hat. I don't know if y'all know the lyrics to this song. This is from a lyrics. Let me see if I'm gonna pull up this design too. All right, so we're gonna analyze this one here. This is round 1. Okay, I always call it round 1 before I make any changes. I'm gonna make some changes live today too, because there's a couple things. When we're on the 3-foot, usually embroidery, like you'll look at it, right? You want to be like 3 feet to see if it's good. Once you go this close, you start finding more flaws, right? But really, nobody is looking at designs like this, right? Usually, you step back like this. Usually, what I do also, I pull out the magnifying glass if I really want to be picky, all right? But we're gonna find flaws, and we're going to fix some items, and then I'll go back, and then I'll stitch this out. Okay, but this is a 5mm text. Okay, so we're on the small end with 5mm. All right, so we'll talk about small lettering. All right, Tracy, how you doing? MK Buddy from Michigan. All right. Michigan, USC just beat Michigan this weekend, so it was a good weekend for us too. Carlos, Doug, Dodgers. Yup, I'm from Van Nuys. Yeah. Van Nuys, 818. I'm in San Diego now. Okay, so Faker McFake. Good afternoon. Cool. All right. All right. I like this one. It's a flex. Well, look, there's like two meanings behind this. All right. That has such a flex. Well, one, it's a flex fit, right? So that's kind of like one little thing. But yeah, I think it's super fresh. But I did want to stitch this one out because we're gonna talk about it. And it's one thing about just talking theory, and then it's another thing of seeing something actual, like, you know, in physical form. All right. 619-216. And then, yep. Enjoy watching you. Always in the background. All right. Yep. Yeah, because there's a lot of videos that I watch in the background. I watch a lot of like Illustrator, Photoshop, like that world, graphic designing. I watch a lot of that. So a lot of my inspiration, the people that I look up to, all right, that's the type of level that I like to teach at, where we break it down so simple that everything starts making sense. Hey Barb, great to have you today. All right. All right, let's get started. All right. And like always, if you have a question or you want to add information, okay, I feel like here in the chat right here, we have like the all stars of embroidery. Okay. There's a lot of people that I know been down with the channel for since day one. Everybody has their own stories, everybody has their specialty. And by combining all of our information together, okay, it's just nonstop learning information. All right, crafting vibes from Vegas. Cool. All right. All right, let's get started today. Before we get started, let me just make a quick announcement. All right. As many of you know, I am a Wilcom ambassador. Okay, and Wilcom has. Let me post this up right here. We got a big special going on. Okay, so there's. Let me see if I could pop my head in the corner. Oh, there I go. All right. So Wilcom, of course, they always got great specials, especially right now. They got some specials going on, and on top of that, you can get a 10% off by using the Romero Threads promo code. Okay, so make sure you bookmark that. On the description, I have the link to my ambassador page. So if you click on that, it has all the info that you need. All right, it has like the different stages and categories of Wilcom. All right, so the big thing is dongle free access, free support, and online training. That's the big one. Online training. They have a library of videos that you can use there. All right, and of course I'm there. Okay, you'll see some of my videos. And this is the big one, kind of what we're going to talk about today here. Over 200 professionally digitized fonts. Okay, that's the big one right there. All right, and we're going to get into the details of working with these professionally digitized fonts right here. All right, and then bam, more information right here. And so it's for new licenses, trade-ins, updates. All right, and here goes my picture right here. But this is the promo code. Use code ABART for Ambassador Romero Threads. All right, and I have the link in the description. Cool. All right, now let me get my computer situated. Bam. Get the software. And then just real quick, you already know I've been using Wilcom since day one. The main reason why I would tell somebody, because I always get questions. What software, what machine, what this, what that should I buy? Okay. But with software, even before I was a ambassador, okay, main reason why I chose Wilcom, number one, my digitizer used it. Okay. Even though I digitize probably like 80% of my work here at the shop, we still send it out to Victor Digitizing, and he uses Wilcom. And pretty much, I would say 99% of digitizers use Wilcom. So it's easy for me to make a simple change if I want to make it bigger, if I want to make it smaller. If you have the same software as your digitizer, it makes life a whole lot easier, all right, to make changes. Okay, and then I've seen a lot of people, right? They brag about the machines that they have, but as much as a machine is important, okay, you could turn a regular random Chinese machine into a beast if you have proper digitizing artwork. Okay. So if you do have, there's those $5,000 machines. If you have good digitizing, you could turn those machines into a beast. All right. And vice versa. You could have a $50,000, I won't say 50, $40,000 single head machine. But if you don't have the right design, all right, it's all for nothing. All right. So that's why it's important to have best quality of digitizing software. All right. Now, bam, let's get into our topic today. Okay. So I have, let me pop up my, all right, cool. So we have 8 topics today. Okay. 8 topics today. And just to give you a brief overview, okay, I got a couple logos here. Eventually we're going to digitize 3 logos. Okay. 3 logos. And so note number 1. Okay. Note number 1 is we got to identify what type of font do we have. Okay. And when I'm talking about these 8 lessons for today, they're not like in any order. Okay. I like wrote them down. We're going to talk about each one of these items. Okay. But number 1, we got to categorize them. So text just in general is categorized in 3 main type of text. Okay. We have this one here, which is sans serif. All right. Sans serif, you could tell because they're real simple, right? They're like block text. Simple. All right. Then we have serif. So let's go into here. So here, Times Roman. Oh, let me go into bigger Times Roman. These Times Romans, like now you see they have little feet, right? Like complicated level increased a certain percentage once you go into the serif. All right. And then the third one is just cursive, right? Cursive. Let's see this one. Bam, like this one here. Right? Cursive can become a little bit more difficult compared to the regular block sans serif, right? This is as easy as it's gonna get. All right. So really, lesson number 1 is category. That one's a super easy lesson, right? You got to know. Now, me personally, I work with sans serif or block. This one's the block 2. We could pull up my information right here. All right. So you can see here I have block 2. And here on Wilcom, it tells you at what size you should be working with it. Let's go into metrics. Right? 6 to 20 millimeters for this one. And then they have a smaller version. So for a lot of fonts, they have the micro version. Micro block. Bam, bam. All right. It still says 6 to 20 millimeters, but I crank it down to 5 millimeters. All right. 6 is like playing it safe. But if we know what we're doing, we can override some stuff here. All right. So this is like safe zone, but in reality, I take it down to 5 millimeter. That's how good this small one is. Actually, small block. Bam, bam. It's actually this one. Oh, there it goes. 4 millimeters. So this one could take you micro block. So there's even smaller ones that you could go to. All right. All right. Cool, cool. And then we're going to bring all these notes that we have. We're going to, once we start digitizing these logos. Okay. Rule number 3. I have a number. Actually, let me go number 2. Okay. Number 2. All right. Let's make a new one. New design. So these rules that I'm coming up with, we're going to put them all together once we start digitizing. Okay, let's bring this height. 10, let's put this, 10 millimeters. Make this blue. Okay. So number 1 was, what do we call it? Choosing, the 3 types of text was number 1. Okay. I should write this down because the 3 types of text. This second one is sequencing. All right. So let's see what happens when you push play. All right. A lot of stuff, a lot of crazy stuff happening right there. First of all, let's take off, or let's move this to a single run. All right. So when we push play, it's doing this underlay first. Okay. And sequence means where do you want to start? Where do you want to stop? And in between that, what part of the letters do you want to go first? All right. So you see how it did the bridge, the part of the A first. Now it's going to do the left leg. And then it's going to do the top part. Then the right side. Bam. That's one letter right there. Okay. Right now we're going to start super, super simple. And then we're going to kind of move our way up. All right. So that is the sequence. In what order do we want to go? And right now it's in a, like you see here on my object, it has a letter A. All right. So right now it's locked in like in a letter base, but we can break it up and we could turn it. So if you put right here, Control K, we can turn it into small objects, into pieces. All right. So the number 3 note for today is breaking up our letters. So really text, okay, we see it as text or the customer sees it as text, but when we're designing it, we really broke it up into shapes. All right, we really broke it up into shapes. So let me change the colors of these so we can see how these shapes look. Okay, so this is what our letters looks like broken up into pieces. All right, so you can see it here. I think if you know how to break, when you're looking at a logo, okay, so let's look at this logo right here. All right, looks pretty familiar, right? Let's look at the L. Let's start something simple. All right, you need me to move right here. Oops. All right. So let's look at this L right here, right? So first thing is, what type of font is this? It's a serif, right? Because it has, you see the legs and the top, right? Second is how many shapes do we have in this L, right? And when we break it down, right, this is like us with X-ray vision. How many shapes are we looking at? And really, if you know how to digitize a square or a rectangle, you pretty much know how to digitize this logo right here. Okay. So let's count how many shapes we have. So we go, I'm just going to do it real quick right here. Bam. So we got this first shape. Right. Let's change this color so we can see it. Bam. Then we have this other one here. Right. One. And this is all one shape right here. Right. And it's going to connect right there to right here. Bam. Two. Right. Now we go to this third one. Nothing too crazy, right? I would say difficult level, we're probably at a 3 or a 2 maybe. Right. So that's 3 pieces. All right. So let's look at the R. How many shapes do we have on the R? All right. So sometimes there's no right or wrong answer. It's not like you have to do it like this. Like it depends whatever you want. Okay. For example, we use the column B here. For example, here, right? You could do this R. We could take it all the way. We could take it all the way up here, right? And if you send a design to a digitizer, like to 3 different digitizers, you won't always get the same design. You're gonna get like different, results. Bam, right? And the cool thing here, you can always adjust this. Give it a little bit more curve. Right? It's all how you interpret your shapes, right? Someone might do it like this. All right? Someone might do it like this, or somebody might do it like this. Give me 1 second. And a lot of times when you're tracing, you could just trace like real quick and then afterwards clean it up a bit. Always backspace too. And just the stitch angles right here. Right, you could put that R. So now we just have this little leg right here. Okay, and this is where it's I know we talked about this in the one of the last lives, where we want to blend in. We want this to blend in a bit, right? Bam. This side. Bam. All right. So, well, we talked about sequence, right? We're going to sequence this in the order that we want. All right. And this one, I mean, this is as easy as it can get because you're just literally doing a square. Right? Nothing too crazy. And then this is another square. What we could even do, you can grab this one, duplicate it, right? And you could just reformat it from the sides because it's just a rectangle. Oh, yeah. Hold on, that ain't gonna work. But where's that? If you want to flip it 90 degrees. Oh, stitch it. No. All right, now I'm just pushing buttons. I usually have this one ready to go. All right, hold on. I was trying to do something, but all right. I usually have my hotkey where I could just flip it. All right, but let's just make that quick square. Bam. All right, bam. We got the R, right? Looks all right. Out of order, and I could tell I'm out of order because you can see all these triangles. After every letter, I want to just have one triangle, one trim. That's what the triangle is. All right. So this is where our eye, we have to kind of train our eye and let it, what is the best way where it's going to look normal, right? Because right now, this one here, this one's looking out of place, right? I would want this leg that's here to be underneath this part. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go, might keep this one last, this leg right here. No, actually I want this. Bam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Like I said, there's no right or wrong answer, right? But let's change this color right here. Bam. So sequence-wise, we still have our trends, right? Okay. There's two things we can do right here, okay, to remove all these trims. Okay, to me, that is my biggest pet peeve is to have a trim, unplanned trim, like a trim that I didn't intend for there to be a trim. Like that is my pet peeve right there. Every trim, I want to know exactly where every trim, because I think myself, I avoid trims because that's where thread breaks. That's where stuff happens, right? That's where the machine starts acting up, is when it stops and it restarts back. Once it's running, like, it's rare that the machine's gonna have a hiccup, right? It still happens, but it's a little bit less rare, or the possibility is a little less. Okay, and then I'll talk about this one here. All right, we're gonna talk about the underlay, always important. All right, and then I'll go back and try to find questions at the end. All right, and then we're gonna, all right, I feel you on this one. All right, I'm lost. I'm gonna come back. Okay, I'm gonna come back, and we're gonna even bring it down a little bit and slow it down a bit. Okay, and then patience. You know, I think for me, digitizing, like, now it makes sense with this comment, right? Like, I feel like it's therapy for me. Like, I have to, it's like doing math, right? It's like doing math. Like, you got to figure stuff out. It's like a video game. What's the best way to digitize a letter without any cuts? Okay. All right, I'll come back with more questions in a bit. All right. Hey, Cindy, how you doing? I know you, looks like you are out and about. Okay. All right, bam, bam. We got Jubisa from Serbia, maybe. All right. All right. So part of the sequencing is the order of operations. And so we need to put walking stitches, okay? Because right now I have this guy going first. Where is he? Oh, let's do this black or blue. So I won't get lost right here. All right, we got this bottom guy going. Then we got this leg here, followed by here. All right, so usually what you can do, the easy way around it, is to put apply closest joint. And the software, right, it's going to do its math in his head, and it's going to tell you the best way to go about that, right? Bam, we still got trims that we don't need. Bam. Let me delete this one. All right, we can see this a little better here. All right. But instead of putting closest joint, we're going to manually just put our walking stitches. So what I'm going to do, walking stitches, it's like you're walking under the design. All right, I'm just going to walk it here just to give myself a little clean walking stitch in the beginning. I'll change the color at the end, then resequence it. So it's going to go from this walking stitch here. Then it should be here. Bam. And then we're going to walk it from here to here. Right? And then it's going to do this part, the circle R. And then we're going to want to walk it from here to this guy. All right, these are all walking stitches. Now I got to put it in order. So I'm going to start with this one. Walk here. Do this. Walk there. Round. Walk down. Bottom. Foot. Leg. Make it all same color. Oh. Hold on. My bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sequence it. Now change the color. All right. I think this one I made it more complicated than it should have been. Okay. Now, since I already, now I could put a close joint. Bam. Just did this trim. And then you have control of this last trim where you want it. D or H. All right. We'll put it down here on the bottom. Okay. Now, let's talk about underlay. Okay. Underlay. Right now, I don't have any underlay, only these walking stitches that I had. Right. That's the $1 million question. What underlay should I use? And I wish I can give you like a formula. There probably is a formula somewhere or a guideline. But there's so many variables because if you use a formula, you might, in some instances, put too much underlay or too little underlay, right? Because let's say like a beanie. Beanie requires more underlay than, let's say, like something like canvas type. But really, what underlay is, it depends on the distance on the stitch length of your sand stitch. So 4 millimeters, right? That's probably like our big size, small size here, 1.36, right? We might, what you could do, okay, what you can do, you can either give yourself a global underlay all around, like everything has the same amount of underlay. Right, we could say, hey, let's give a zigzag, or let's give a, yeah, double zigzag underlay. Probably too much, just a zigzag. Okay. There is all right, give this with a zigzag. Or let's just give a zigzag. All right, bam. So once we play it, and then right here, trim. I like to push trim because sometimes you get unnecessary trims that you didn't want. Right. So when we play it, it should play exactly like how we planned it. Right. Everything that we planned. It's going to do this top, and then it's going to walk down to the feet. It's going to walk down, bam, walk down, do that foot. Then it's going to go up, finish down. Bam. All right. And then these intersections, these are the important parts. Okay. You can kind of see how we want them to blend in. Where you get gaps. Okay. So this is one of the key notes that I have here. What was it called? Avoiding gaps. All right. Avoiding gaps. This is where you have gaps, is where you have your thread running perpendicular. So right here, we have this part running from top to bottom. And then connecting to it, we have something moving left to right. So running perpendicular. This is where potentially you can get gapping. And the reason why I did this leg last, because this top part is going to push out. So there's no pulling. It's going to push out. So there won't be no gap here. And same thing here. Okay. If I would have gone this one here, then this leg, and then this foot down here. Okay. So if it would have looked like this part, here is where you have potential gapping. Okay. Because now these needles, it's pulling it in. All right. So that was the reason why I put that this part last, because it's pushing on both sides, no gaps. Okay. Here, potentially we could have gaps. What you can do to avoid gaps, right? You could pull this back, you could pull this in a bit and offset, right? So you don't have a perfect 90 degrees connection right there. Okay. You can kind of like angle it out a bit, right? It's hiding in the bottom, so you can't really see what's happening. All right, here, same thing here. I did this foot first. This part is gonna push down. It's gonna push down, so there's no pulling. Okay, so that's something you want to take into consideration, the push-pull, to avoid gaps. All right, this one here is gonna push down, so it closes gaps. All right, bam. All right, nothing too crazy, right? Nothing too crazy. I'll finish digitizing this in a bit, but this is where our letters are broken down. All right. So we did, what letter did we do? R, right? R. So let's break all our pieces down. Control K. Control K. See, right now they're like individual letters, but then we could break them down. Control K. Now, like you see here, object, now they're in two pieces. All right, so let's see like X, right? To me, this is where I had like that moment, that aha moment. All right. This is when everything lined up and digitizing made sense. When I saw that lettering is just broken up pieces, sequenced together, right? Like as digitizers, we see the objects, but the customer, they see the final outcome, right? They don't know that they don't know that this X is made up of 3 pieces. They think it's just one piece, right? Same thing with this W, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the secret right here. This is the secret sauce, is the blending in, right? You see how there's overlap? That's the secret sauce right there. Okay, so if we measure this out, we got an overlap of about 0.8 millimeters. Without this overlap, then we'll get gaps. All right, so every time we make connections within our shapes, there has to be an overlap. That's how everything looks as one. That's the secret sauce right there. All right. So secret sauce number 1 is the shape is broken up into, or the letter is broken up into shapes, right? This is one right here. This, and then the second one is that there's overlaps between the shapes. Okay, here you don't need too much overlap. You see how there's not that much overlap. So there won't be no gaps if this is pushing out. If this is the last thing to stitch out, then there's a potential for gaps. All right. So to me, that is the secret sauce right there. All right. A key note, all right, keynote is understanding the minimum and maximum rules. Okay, so this is the main rules of Digitize, because sometimes somebody's like, hey, make my text smaller, or make my text bigger, right? Or how big can I turn this text? And the question's always, well, it depends. It depends what your design is. Okay, so let's go into small text. All right. So I got the small size versus the bigger digitizing fonts. All right. And the rules, see how big this font is. Let's break this up. Control K. This is 5.26 height. So we're in the small end, small side, right? And really what determines how can we go smaller, like if somebody was to tell me, hey, can I go smaller in this on this font? It's already small enough. But you know, you get those customers that are like, yeah, I need more words on this design, right? So we got to measure dot to dot. When you're measuring, dot to dot, right? So right here, 1.20. So I would say our minimum and maximum, right? Our minimum, maximum. 1.2, I would say that's pretty small, right? I would say 1 millimeter, anything less than 1 millimeter, now you're playing with fire. Okay, now the chances of you getting thread breaks increases. I know usually sometimes they say 0.8 is the smallest you want to go. Okay, so 0.8 would be like right here, right? That's super tiny. All right, but I would say 1 millimeter for sure. 1.2, I would feel comfortable, especially if you're doing a one-offs, you could probably get away with it. But once you're doing a large run, you don't want to go too low. All right, but let's see. So the question's always, if somebody wants to go lower or higher, is am I going too small in stitch length? And this is what it comes down to. So the minimum I would say is 1 millimeter. Okay, safe 1.2 to 1.5. That's kind of like your safe buffer zone. And then anything higher, you're pretty much good. Okay. What I do sometimes, like if I want to pull comp, you can always add pull compensation 0.3. And then you get, so that's times 2 because it's on both sides. So you're getting a 0.6 free extra, right? So this one, 1.4. Right? So let's say like you take that off. Right? So the rule of text embroidery is know your minimum maximum. So I'll say minimum 1 millimeter, 1.2, right? To be on the safe side. Maximum, okay? So we do have minimum, we do have a maximum. Right? What's the maximum size? Because after a certain size, then we can't use sand stitches no more. Right? Let's break this up. Okay. All right. So for example, here, let's pull this guy out to the side. All right. Then you could use your fields. Auto split. So you could say, see right now it's auto splitting at 7 millimeters. Let's say 10 millimeters is our biggest. Okay. At 10 millimeters. So you could kind of see how it's auto splitting. So it's saving itself. Instead of it doing one straight satin stitch, it's going to break it up into pieces right here to the half, right? So if we measure it, 11.17, right? So most machines really, yeah, most machines can do 11.17, but let's go even bigger. Let's say a customer's like, no, make it bigger, bigger. And you're like, okay, hold on, right? You're at this point here, and bam, we're at 15. So we're out of bounds now, right? So I would say minimum, we already talked about minimum, about 1.2 millimeters. Maximum, I would say 11 millimeters. To be on the safe zone, 10 millimeters. Okay. So let's say a customer does want it this big, right? So what do you tell them? Now we might have to change it from satin stitch to a fill stitch, right? So it looks like this now, right? They might not like it, but like, hey, it's just too big, right? Something at 11 millimeters might look good with 3D puff, but something on a garment, 11 millimeters might be too long. Oh, all right. I'm sorry about that, man. I am super sorry. All right, bam, bam, bam. All right, I wasn't looking at the comments, but yeah, I wasn't sharing the screen. My bad. I had it on my camera. All right, let's go back a bit. All right. So what I was talking about, let's say a customer, right now, he has it at the height 2.4. He's like, no, I need a 3. Because right now at a 2.4, let's take out this auto split. At a 2.4, it's doable. Right? It's doable. Actually, it probably won't even be doable. Let's bring it down a bit. All right, customers like, hey, 2 at 2 inches, right? Popular design, popular size for a hat. So here, 10. But when you're measuring the distance, sometimes you want to find these corners because that's where it gets really stretched out, like this, 14, right? Out of bounds. Can't do that. Right? We got to tell our customer, nope, too big, too long. We have to change it up. Either make it smaller or we got to turn it into a fill stitch. All right. Make sense? Bam, bam. All right. Cool. That's what I was talking about. All right. My bad for not sharing that screen right there earlier. So minimum, maximum, minimums, right? How small can you bring that sand stitch? And then how big can you make that sand stitch? Once it gets too long, we have to change it up. Fill stitch. Okay, fill stitch. All right. So learn or understand the minimum maximum. That way, when customer wants you to make the design bigger or smaller, you know if it's possible or not. Okay. All right. So we break down the letters to its shapes, sequencing, understanding the minimum, maximum, push, pull. Okay. That's a big one here. Okay. We kind of talked about push, pull to avoid the gaps, but I think something that'll completely mess up a project, right? If you have text, if you have like a word and the text, they're not the same height, like when you read it out, right? One letter is big and then the other one kind of shrinks in. All right. So let's talk about that right here. Bam, right? Well, let's talk about this one, Helvetica. Right, very popular font right here. All right, we could draw little lines right here. And these are the keyboard fonts, so you know they've been professionally digitized. Right, I'm just gonna make a line right where that E, right where that E, and then right here where this H line is. And you can see how these letters, they're not perfectly lined up, right? Look at the E. It goes above, right? It goes above the line. And then the H, it's right here on the bottom part, right? Why would, if this is professionally digitized, why wouldn't the heights be the same? All right. So anywhere you see a dot, this is where the needle is coming in. So anywhere the needle comes in, it's pulling in. So it's pulling down, right? It's pulling down. Anywhere it's pulling down, on the opposite end here, it's pushing out. So we know this side is pushing out. And with this H, right, this dot, it's pulling in, and the top part is pulling out, pushing out. So by the time these stitch out, they're going to even out and create a straight line. So they end up like right here, right? This middle one, this imagination line right here, imaginary line right here. All right, makes sense? So when you digitize, okay, here, that's a good thing about using keyboard fonts is that it's already calculated for you. The push-pull, it's already calculated. But if you're digitizing a font where you're not using the keyboard shortcuts, you might want to take that into account. Okay, so let's see. Right here, they're all pulling because they're all sans serifs. So they're all, with the exception of the O. Okay, the O is always going to be above that line. Okay, you can see how here's the top of the L, and then the O goes above it. But that's because it's circular, so it's supposed to go like that. But really, in this font, they all have, there's no letter that's pushing out. So really, they would all have the same height in the bottom, except for the O. Okay. Oh, I got this one. This font right here, right? So for doing the T, we'll line up the T. This is where it lines up. Right? But we want to add it when we digitize it. We want to pull it up a little higher. And then the Y, this is going to be pushing out. So we want to stop like right here because it's going to push. Bam. All right. So we want it to even out in the middle. So we want the Y to end here because that's pushing out, and then the T is pulling. So we want to bring that letter all the way up here. So the average is this middle line right here. So we'll do that right here. Okay, makes sense. As long as these two are equal, they're going to even out to the same line. All right, so that's the push-pull to avoid different heights of the alphabets. Okay, push-pull to get the same heights. Avoiding gaps at the intersection, so we talked about that. Choosing the correct underlay. Okay, so let's go back. I know I kind of mentioned it. So when we're choosing underlay, it all has to deal with the size of your satin stitch. Okay, so here, 3.37. So it's safe to use a we could probably be good with a zigzag. Okay. Once we go a little bigger or you need more, then you could introduce the edge run. Edge run is one of my favorite. The edge run just makes like it makes the shape. So here a rectangle on the inside, just to give it bones to the inside of your embroidery. Okay. And then once you go real thin, right when you go real thin, you just want to keep a center run. You don't want to go too crazy, because what happens is if you put too much underlay, it starts sticking out from the bottom. Like it starts pouring out, and now it looks like sausage. Instead of having sharp, clean text, it starts looking like sausage. We definitely don't want that. Okay. Bam. And then choosing correct, the 3 types of text, sans serif, serif, cursive. Okay, and then this last topic before we start digitizing. Okay, so this last topic, number 8, is I call it to jump or not to jump. Jump stitches, right? Jump stitches. Usually, jump stitches from letter to letter inside a word, it's easy to jump, right? You don't have to trim them because you're not going to really see the jump stitches. Okay, but from word to word, now that's a question you want to do. Do you want the machine to manually trim it, or do you want to go on the back end and trim it? Okay, that's like an art in itself, is trimming, cleaning it up afterwards. Okay, because sometimes you trim it at the end, and it's not going to look as clean like if the machine trimmed it and start again. The only thing now, when you have the machine trim it, even though it looks clean, you're adding time. So it takes time. The project's going to take a whole lot longer to stitch out, and by you introducing more start stops, okay, the backside might get a little bulkier with more tie-ins. All right, so there's pros, cons. Okay, now I would say, let's say like this is a perfect example here. Let's break this up in parts. Okay, when we do jump stitches, when it's in between a letter, okay, I like to keep it tight together, and then the best locations to make a jump is down here on the bottom. Right, so here you can see how it's jumping to the next letter, the bottom. It's easier to hide jumps down here on the bottom. All right, or the closest intersection between 2 letters. So here, bam, right here. Okay, like this one would be tricky. Like this L. All right, if we had to move this up, we can move this up right here, hide it a bit. Right, so you always want to put it in the closest location here. Now, when you select the text, you have the text. Oops. You could bam, right here. Okay, we could select how we want the connecting stitches to be. Letter spacing table. Order. Is it effects? No. Order? No. Sequence. All right, hold on. I'm drawing a blank right here. Settings. Baseline. No. Baseline. Bang, bang. Cancel. Because you could make it where you want the connections to be closest point or bottom point. All right, but I'm drawing a blank right here. Sequence. And then, oh yeah, that's somewhere there. But so here, let's say like here, right? H. Then I'll show you an example like what I did with my hat. So like here, I don't want that jump stitch to be visible. So I just move it closer. I move the B a little closer. The M. So within a word, it's easy to like button up, get close to the next letter. Okay. Especially here, like where you have an O and a C, right? You only have one closest point here, which is right in the middle. Right. Then I'll show you the example like with my hat. How I did it with my hat and block. Oh my goodness. My bad. 2 times today. All right. I didn't put the screen again. All right, force I have it. I'm just gonna keep it like this. All right. What I was doing, let's go Control Z a bunch of times. I was just moving my font. Right. So you see it here. So you see, this is not a very attractive. Like when we have jump stitches within a word, inside a word. Right. You don't want these stitches to be visible. So what I do, I select like the ones that I want to go. Well, let's start back here. I'll select all this MBLOC. Right. And then I move it. Bam. So we want to hide those jump stitches. Right. And then the O, bring it close. Okay. Unselect that, bring the L right within letters. Bam, just bring it close. Okay, so now that's the name of the game, is hide your jump stitches, hide them so they're not seen. Like right here, look at this, from the S to the A. Okay, definitely an eyesore. So we can bring this here, bam, right. And sometimes it might not look right on the screen, but especially when you're working with small letters, okay, the eye can put all these letters together so it can make sense. And then what I do after the word, then I put a jump. I'll make it jump. I don't like manually trimming letters. Sometimes it doesn't look as good as I want it to look. So after here, there'll be a trim. Like you could tell there's a trim because this is the tie off, right? You see like this little tie off part, right? All right, now this is my hat right here. This is the one that I just made right now. right, bam. And then let's see if we can see our jump stitches in between. Bam, right here. So in this one, let's see what's the size of my font. We're like 5.6. This is a big letter, so let's go with this one. All right. So we're between 4.5 and 5.5, right? Because usually the O's, they're bigger letters. E's. So this one here, I used a keyboard shortcut. Good thing about keyboard shortcut, I don't have to worry about the push-pull to accommodate for the sizing. Okay, it's all done automatic, right? Because that's how the keyboard shortcuts are made. So let's see. So for example, here it is A and the T. See how the T is up here and the A ends right here. So when it stitches out, it's going to find like that middle ground, that middle right there. All right. So that's one less thing to think about, especially something like this where there's a lot of words, right? It's going to take a minute if I'm trying to do all that manually. All right. Bam. So got that. And then let's see our trims. So you can see I trimmed after each word. After each word, bam, goes to the next one. Does everything all in one shot. I definitely don't like stopping in between a word. Okay. So each word has its own start, stop, or one. Okay. Another thing that I did, this is just like my personal setting that I wanted to do. You could see I don't have any underlay, right? Anytime I work with super, super small letters, I avoid underlay only if necessary. If I start seeing that there's gaps or something, but I would change something individually, like a letter individually. Okay. And then key question right here. Okay, real good question. When you say keyboard shortcut, are you talking about keyboard font? Yes, the keyboard. So anything that's here, let me see. Bam, bam. So you can see here my objects, there's a letter A. That means that it's a keyboard. Right? So here you have all this. I could still change some of my words. Okay, if it's an object based, then it's just shapes. You can't change, right? So if I have a typo here, I could go back and fix it. All right, and then here is all my keyboard fonts, right? So like I said earlier today, Wilcom has about 200, right? 200 fonts. That's like a crazy amount of fonts. But so you see how they're all red here? These are all embroidery keyboard fonts. And then once I get into the blue, the true type, this is like stuff that I have on my computer. Right? So I have 200 plus all my true type fonts. But right here, I'm using the Wilcom true type stuff. Okay, and then H, same thing. Like I could come in, push H, and I could adjust like here. Like if I didn't like this jump stitch right here, right, I can move this a tad bit here. Right, or you could select on the shape. And then if you wanted this to be a little higher, right, or this to be a little lower, right, we can make adjustments here. Bam, easy, right? Bam, bam. Okay. So we can see here. Let me see. So I showed you the size, right? You could see some of these letters. They're pretty much bunching in together, right? But when they stitch out, there's spacing in between. Okay, there is spacing in between. So let me see as I'm reading this. Okay, sometimes what you see on the screen on the software, it might look a certain way, but when you stitch it out, okay, like here, it looks like it's just on top of each other, but it's all blending in together smooth. All right. And then this is another great question right here. Okay, Karina, do you sometimes change the keyboard font's density? So let's check the density here. Okay, so I did change the density. Usually standard is 0.38 millimeters. Let's see what I put. 0.36. Okay, reason why I put 0.36, I'm not using any underlay. So I'm using a little bit 0.02 more than usual. Right, but as I'm looking at it, I might be good with 0.38. Okay. All right, good question. But you could change it depending on the sizing, or let's say you're using a 60 weight thread, you might want to add more density. Okay. And then, yep, this was the next thing I was going to talk about. Pull comp. When I use small lettering, I do increase the pull comp. So let's say pull comp. Look at this. So usually it's 0.17 is the usual standard for pull comp. And here I'm using 0.28. So I gave myself about 11 millimeters extra. And let's see what I'm talking about. We're talking about pull comp. So without pull comp, you know, it would come down just the way as I, oops, my bad. Select that, right? It would come all the way down like this, like how it's designed. But when you add pull compensation, you're just making that needle extend a bit, right? So here, about point. Hold on, because it's 0.28. So then when we measure it, right there, 0.28. And then it's doing it on this side and this side, right? So if you multiply that by 2, right, 56. So I'm getting 0.56 extra. And as I'm looking at it, it ends up being perfect, right? It ends up turning out. So small lettering, I am going to add pull compensation just to give it like a little safe zone to my needle, just so my needle, especially with this many stitches. So here, 18,000 plus stitches, right? It's going to take a beating. You don't want it to go super small the whole time. So I'm giving it some space to breathe. All right. Cool. All right, now let's do some digitizing. All right. All right. So we talked about the theory. Okay, the theory. The 8. I had 8. So let's review them again. All right. The 8 topics for today. Okay. And then we're gonna put it into action right here. All right. So number 1, we're breaking down letters to its shapes. Okay, so it's like X-ray vision. We got to break it up into pieces, our shapes. Number 2, sequencing. What's going to go first? Are we going to walk to the next area? Okay, so we're planning, right? We're planning how are we going to come across stitching, right? From beginning to end. Number 3, understanding the minimum, the maximum. Okay, how small can we go? How big can we go? We got to play somewhere in between there. If a customer wants us to go smaller, we got to let them know, hey, we already hit the maximum or the minimum. If they want to go maximum, then we got to change the type of stitch. Number 4, push pull, right? Push pull to, the name of the game is to have all the fonts the same height. Okay, so if it's pushing on the top, we got to bring it down a bit. If it's pulling, we got to bring it up. All right. Number 5, avoiding gaps at the intersection, right? When we have stitches going this way, stitches coming up, there's going to be pulling. So we got to be mindful for that. And then number 6, choosing the correct underlay. So depending how big our stitch length is or how long our stitch length is, okay, that's going to determine our underlay. Our 3 types of text: sans serif, serif, cursive, and then to jump or not to jump. I don't like to trim in between words. Okay, but after a word, I'll trim, go to the next one. Right, but everybody has their preference of how they like to do stuff. All right now, and I'm gonna go. I'm definitely gonna change it to the screen right now. All right. We're gonna start with this one, super easy. So serif, sans serif is always the easy one. All right, and then Janice. So for this hat small thread, I did use a 7511 needle. Okay, and then did you stitch the hat? How you doing, Scott? So yes, I did go from the bottom up, but I went from left to right. So usually they say, hey, you got to go middle to the sides, but text, I like going left to right. So I did go left to right. All right, cool. Thank you for the questions. All right, now let's put what we just learned into use. All right, so this U, right? This U, easy day, nothing too crazy. How many shapes do we have in this U? All right, and usually sometimes there's right or wrong answer, sometimes there's not right or wrong answer. It's whatever you think. As long as it comes out good, that's a right answer. All right, but here I'm looking at two shapes. Okay, let's see. Let's put this color right here. All right, 2 shapes. And then you could either do the push pull now. So you see how I'm just going to put it like right before that tip because it's going to push outwards. Right, we could put this. And then a lot of this I could go back and fix it at the very end. Bang. Okay, first shape. We could take it all the way in. Bang. Side A. Now let's do side B. We could always go back and fix this. Anything that's all right. So you see this blend right here? Should blend in pretty good. Okay. Then here, kind of see how it didn't line up perfect. Just bring this up a bit. All right. Once this blends in, it should look like one piece. All right, this O. How many shapes do we have in the O? That was pretty easy, right? It's just one shape. The O is one shape. Okay. Straight. Then we go curves. Curving, curving, curving. Straight right here. Right before it makes it. Bam. Let's go side B. Right. This is the column B to me is just, it makes life so much easy. And then I would rate, or just kind of a question to everybody, but what would you rate this logo? Like from 0 to 10, 10 being the hardest logo ever made, to 1 being super simple. What would you rate this logo right here? And I would rate it, let's see what I would rate it. I would give it easily a between 2 and 3. Right? Bam. Then you could just do this, just make sure everything evens out. Everything is lined up good, right? And then you just want to look at the stitch angles. If I have a stitch angle that's not like, oops. I could always add Control H, and then I could add stitch angles. All right, let's go with this U. I'm going to do it a little faster just so we could get through some of this. So here we have a connector, right? It's connecting to the next shape. So we need to blend it. We need to blend it. So like, just think of like a freeway merge, right? In order for the cars to come in, it has to have a nice, easy merge. Okay, and then bam, side A. See what's in between. So it's kind of like, at the very end, we could fix our push-pull for the height versions. Bam, look at that. Okay, not too crazy. Man. Rectangles, probably the easiest shape of digitizing. See right here, that's what I'm talking about. Instead of going right here on the, we want to take into account the push-pull. Even like here, we don't have to go all the way to the line because that's going to push out. Oops, my bad. You gotta do one side first. Doesn't really matter here. Okay. Right now I'm just digitizing, but we would also have to take into account the sequence. This is just a quick copy and paste. Bam. So here we have two shapes, right? The B, two shapes. What do we want to go first? I want the stem to go last. So bang. I think, really thinking about it, I think the time-consuming part is figuring out the sequence, the whole order. Because right now I'm just clicking, right? But I'm not putting everything in order yet, just because I don't want to be clicking and thinking of the sequence at the same time. But I think that's really where the brain power has to kick in, is when we're trying to figure out the sequence, the order of operations. This one extends even higher. Bam. All right. Then the E. So it's just the tracing part. Okay. Like a funny looking E. Okay. And if there's something with the stitch angle that I don't like, see, sometimes like something might look kind of funny. I just go in there and investigate. There we go, close that up a bit. All right, now sequence, let's sequence this. I'll sequence a letter right here. So let's decide what underlay do we want to use. Okay, so right now we're at a size, it all depends on the size that we have. Width 2.63. Let's measure this. Bam. 3 point, all right. Definitely center run. Center run, zigzag, just say this going on a polo. Right, so we could just put it, that was just a global, meaning everything is all the same. Okay, now let's sequence this. So where do we want to start? H. Want to start down here, kind of hide. We want to hide the beginning, the tie-in. Then here, well, let's go. H starts here, ends there. Then we'll go here. H starts where we ended, ends. We can end up here. Okay, so in each word, I always want one circle where it ties in and one triangle where it ties out, trim. Okay, that one's fine right here. Okay, all right, bam. So we would just finish, save this, finish it later, finish that sequence there. All right, Rolex. So we did this one. Okay, that's how we started the first. We talked about the sequencing on this one. Okay. So Let me just do like two letters right here. All right. Just so we could finish it off with this one here. All right. Okay. Bam. So really, main thing, okay, the main thing, even before I start digitizing this, even though we talked about 8 topics of perfecting and mastering text embroidery, okay, the main two is breaking it up, breaking your text into pieces / shapes. Okay, breaking it up into pieces, and then blending them together so they look like one piece. Okay, what we don't want is to create one shape here, and then just butt them perfectly lined up, right? Because what happens is when it stitches out, it's gonna stitch out with that gap in between. So when we break up our pieces, we want our shapes that are touching together to overlap. Okay, that's like the main key idea right here. Everything else is details, right? Everything else is the sequencing, the underlay, all that stuff. Okay, but that's the main thing when we're digitizing. All right, so let me just do this. We'll do this O to the C to the A. All right, just to make it a little interesting here. All right, so here I gotta like imagine this piece right here, right? This part of the O is gonna blend into this C right here, right? And then I gotta know this part of the O, what's on top, what's on the bottom, right? These are questions that we gotta ask ourselves. So I'm gonna say this part is on top, and it's coming in. So how do we want this to look? We could start here. Hold on, bam, block, bam, 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 bam. Oh, we could start here. Come here. Go that way. Okay. Like I said, there is no right or wrong answer. Oh, bam. But we could start backwards. I'm going to work my way backwards, like reverse engineer this stuff right here. Right. We can stop it right here. Might even change it up a tad bit. All right. Let's change these stitch angles. Bam. All right, now let's do this bottom part. Cursive for sure is more, you gotta like think about it a little bit more. It's not straightforward like sans serif. Sans serif is straight up straightforward. This one here, you're giving the cursive a lot more character depending how somebody would write. And this one just blend in a bit. H. See, it looks a little weird. Hold on. Fix this stitch angle. Okay. It's going to go first, second, sequence. All right. See how it's blending in here? All right. Here it opens up. We don't want this to show kind of gapping. This is where I would add more underlay. And then the cool thing is, since we have it broken up into pieces, we could probably add more underlay on this bottom one than we have on this top one. Like this top one, we could just put a center underlay, and this bottom one, we could put a double zigzag. See, that's the good thing about breaking it up into pieces, is that you could adjust them. All right, bam. All right, let me just do the C, and then we're going to some questions. And then each of these topics that we talked about, we're gonna keep on digging deep. All right, because even though I kind of breezed through a lot of these lessons today, okay, our 8 lessons, each one can easily be an episode, right? But I did want to show you in actual digitizing, right? So we did talk about 3 of the main texts that we deal with, right? We have the simple sans serif block letters, or AKA block letters. Very embroidery friendly, okay? Block letters, just in general, right? Easy to read, easy to make them into small letters. Right, starts looking like. Main thing is to see that your stitch angles are correct right here. So you see how it goes under, then on top, right? Then we could give this its own pull comp. So depending on what's happening, how thick the sand stitch is, you could give each shape its own pull comp, its own underlay. So here, probably just a zigzag, right? And then you could add your walking stitches, or we can just put apply closest joint. And it's going to do everything. I usually do a mixture of walking stitches and apply closest joint. All right. Bam. All right, cool. What was this one? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Oh, I got my arms. It's like a workout, digitizing like that. All right. So, all right. Some very, very good training today. Let me see this question. See if I understand what you're saying. Do you remove first margin on zigzag underlay? If not, why? Do you remove first margin? Yeah, I didn't understand that question. And then I asked, how hard was that? Like, what would we rate that YouTube logo? All right, so Jesse rated it at 2. And then Faker, McFake, 3, right? That's where I was at, like between 2 and 3, right? Of this one right here. Right. Yeah. Pretty simple. That's the best way to to learn digitizing is just digitize every logo you can ever think of. And then your opinion on Wilcom Hatch 3. So I started on Hatch 2 before I got on Wilcom. Big thing is, let me show you right here. Big thing I would say is just all my tools, right? All my tools are right here. And then I could customize how I want everything. Like if I want more screen space, let's say I could take off that color one right there. You can kind of make it how you want it, like depending on what you want. And my big thing is this one. Like it doesn't seem like a big deal, but this color object list to see all my items right here, right, in a small version. Real easy to kind of organize my workflow. But Hatch 3, Wilcom, very, very similar. A lot of the hotkeys. So by the time I went to Wilcom, I already knew all the hotkeys and everything. So very similar. I would just say tool wise, easier for me to like kind of move around. Cindy. Yeah, definitely is going to have it on the replay. Book, okay, just because I'm out at sea right now, it's hard to finish this book, but it is on the to-do list. All right. All right. Let me see this question right here. How do you price your digitizing for schools and businesses when creating to design? All right, cool. Good question right here. All right. Thanks, Jesse. So pricing, how do I price for digital? This is me, right? I'm probably a little different than most shops and stuff, okay? I don't charge like my customers, okay? My customers that I'm going to do more, that I'm going to stitch out garments for them. Me, I don't charge digitizing fee, okay? Because this is like my theory or my idea behind this, okay? If I charge a digitizing fee, if I charge you, right, if you pay for digitizing, I think maybe you probably have a what would I say? You should receive your files if you paid for a digitizing, right? I feel like when I digitize something, that belongs to the shop, right? The digitizing file should never be given to a customer. And by me not charging it to a customer, that makes it 100% sure that we own the embroidery file. Okay, of course not the logo or the design, but that design was specifically made in this shop, right? If anybody ever wants to take a design, they got to start from scratch somewhere else. That's why we don't charge digitizing fee. That's why. But in order to do that, we stay away from the one-offs, right? Somebody that just wants one hat, right? It doesn't make sense to spend hours on a file just for a one-off. So we tend to go for design, something that's going to be multiple garments. Okay. Now, if it's just like a friend or somebody that I know that I'm going to send the file out to somebody, it's no big deal, right? And be like, hey, can I have that file? Yeah, that's fine. But something like long term that we know we did samples after sample after sample, Okay. We don't charge for digitizing. All right. We'll make it on the back end. Right, is how I see it. All right. But it doesn't work if you just do one-offs. That's just my mind frame of how we go about. And then just think about the price of the software. Okay. Yeah. So the link, right? Any question will come. Any question will come related. Okay. Click on the link on the description. All right. It has all the information right there. And then if you need more info, it has a contact to contact the people at Wilcom. All right. They know everything you need to know about Wilcom right there. And then this is always a popular question. Is there much different quality between Tajima and Ricoma? Tajima justify the price difference. All right. I like this question, right? Because it's not as simple as 1, 2, 3. Okay. So what I'm going to say, there's a difference between step 1, right? Even before we start talking about machines, is your files, right? Your files have to be digitized correctly, because it don't matter if you're putting in garbage, right? No matter what machine you're using, you're gonna get garbage, right? So step number 1, before we even talk about what's the best machine, is let's make sure the design is on point. Okay, following all the rules, especially all the rules that we talked about today, right? So step 1 is let's get some good designs into it. All right. I know for a fact, like my Ricoma, I've had some designs, right? Some real sharp. I still use them, right? I have 2 Ricomas. There's some designs you can't tell. You can't tell if it was on a Ricoma or on a Tajima. All right, for the most part. Now there are some designs, very intricate, very detailed design that my Tajima, right, is just gonna do this above it, right? Precision. There's some designs that require precisions, and that Tajima, you're gonna know. Okay, you're gonna know that hey, this right here was made on a Tajima. All right, but really, 90% of designs, like simple designs, you're not gonna tell. But there are some times, certain detail designs, and you can tell, right? Holding, but for the most part, if you know what you're doing, if you know how to set your parameters, your tension, okay, you can make it work. But to answer your price, does Tajima justify the price? If you're getting business and your business is profitable, it easily justifies the price. Okay, easily justifies the price. All right, and just one thing about the Tajima, just the way it sounds, like it purrs. Okay, the Ricoma, it like bangs. Ba, 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 ba. Tajima, brrr. So just sound wise, view wise, okay. Tajima, it just looks right, right? It just sounds, smells, looks right. So I would say justify if you're a profitable shop and you're going through garments, bam, bam, bam. It's constantly moving. 100% justification. Okay. If you're having a hard time, right, doing business, you might have to think about it, right? Because the price is up there. All right, and then we got Team Tajima right here, right? But there's also other machines, right? But you can make it happen with a Ricoma. All right, I'm telling you, like everything we have down in the shop, it all started with one Ricoma, and that thing worked it was a workhorse. All right, workhorse. It's still working. It's working right now as we speak. All right, and then use machines. Oh, excellent question right here. One thing that I would say about used machines, if you're starting off brand new where you don't know anything about embroidery, I would then I wouldn't advise you to use a new machine because you wouldn't know what to look out for, right? You don't know what's important at yet. But if you're seasoned, you already know, hey, it just needs to get this fixed, right? Or you know how to set tensions. You know how to do a sample. Like if you're gonna go visit somewhere to buy it, you're gonna run some samples. You know what to look out for. You know what to listen for. Okay, it's easier. So I would say start off with a new machine, and as time goes by, then you can buy used machines so you know what to look for, you know how to negotiate, and you know where the prices should be set at. Okay. And then okay, cool. So yeah, so people have all different type of machine. You take care of your machines, it's gonna take care of you. That's really what it comes down to. All right, you feed it nice, good designs, right? So Barb, appreciate this comment, right? Barb has an Avanci private label or Ricoma, right? So you keep them maintained, clean, all right? And then as long as you're not trying to do anything crazy, a machine's gonna stitch out pretty much every machine, right? If it's well maintained, well kept, good designs, input, right? You take care of it, it's gonna take care of you. All right. And then Eva Tres, using the heaviest metal machine in the market, frying sick machine. All right, that sounds like a beast right there. All right. Bam, bam. All right, cool, cool. Bam. Hey, Kingsbury Crafts, nice to see you. Appreciate that. And then, did you ever try to upgrade your Ricomas, for example? So, my Ricomas, they're good. They're good. Like perfectly what I need them for. Okay. Perfectly what I need them for. All right. So, definitely wouldn't trade them for anything. Instead of trading them, I just buy more. Right. It would just be a space issue of getting more. Right. Now, thing with ZSK Tajima, I already have the Tajima, right? And then the Ricoma and the Tajima, they use the same accessories, so it's easy to mix match. That's the main thing for Tajima, right? But I'm good. I know I've heard nothing but good things with ZSK, but I got all my stuff Tajima. Then Sunrise represent Berdans Pro 3. See, these are all these machines, right? They're all like real good. All right. Then my requirements are very inconsistent when we talk about regular size stitches. Tension are good. Okay, let me see. All right, first thing. Well, it depends how long you've had it. You've had your Ricoma. I just think when you get a new machine, it's like a wild horse, right? Even my Tajima, when I first got it, like it was acting up, and you gotta like tame it. You gotta tame your machine. Like I don't think the machines just come off working 100% from the beginning, right? And then sometimes it's kind of weird. It sounds weird, but there's some like thread that machines don't like. Like one machine might like this brand of thread, and then them or this bobbin, or it might like this, or likes this needles, and you gotta, right, to the point where you're doing enough samples. It's just you gotta fight your way through till you tame it and you got it on lock. All right. What I would say is, if you haven't got your Ricoma, keep on going. Keep on going. Keep on trying to get it back. Try not to do, when you're setting it up, try not to use like crazy intricate designs. Like, keep it simple. Okay, keep it simple and just kind of fine tune it right there. All right, cool. Bam, bam. Let me see. I do appreciate these questions. All right, and then this one's always a crazy question right here. How do shops embroider on the brim of the hat? I don't know. I wouldn't embroider on the brim of the hat. Like, that's crazy. Right? But I think people see it, right? They want it. I've had requests where people want stitches on the brim, and first of all, if when you open up a hat, like, a lot of this stuff is straight plastic. Like, why would you want to damage your equipment just for somebody's, right? You got to have limit of what you could stitch on, right? You're going to be asked to stitch on crazy stuff. Even though your machine can do it, why do it, right? I wouldn't do it on the brim. Like, but people are doing it. It's cool, but I'm not worried about that. All right, cool. All right. As a reminder, I do have the link on the Wilcom. Okay. I have 10% off on their already specials that they have. So they're running specials. I got the link there, so you could check out the ambassador page. Very soon, as soon as I get more time, I'll be answering more questions. Okay, I'm gonna create like a library of questions, Wilcom questions, and so I'll make a post in the very soon where I'm gonna be taking questions. That way, we could just make a video, maybe like a 1 hour video of nothing but personalized questions that people have regarding Wilcom. Okay. More samples. Okay. As soon as I get a little bit more break, shoot more lives. But if you are on the replay, make sure you drop your questions. That way we can all learn from each other. Okay. Follow me on TikTok too. A lot of these videos that I'm doing today, I'm going to chop them up, get some of the best pieces, and turn them into 1 minute video, 5 minute videos, 10-minute videos. Okay. So do want to thank everybody hanging out today. We had a good 2 hours of nothing but clicking, and understanding text embroidery. All right. Till the next time, catch you all. Peace out, everybody.